To set up tonight's top story, I'm going to quote from the mayor of St. Petersburg, Florida. The mayor went on Twitter to declare he is barring Donald Trump from entering St. Petersburg until we fully understand the danger posed by all Trumps. He explains he's fighting absurdity with absurdity, since he doesn't have the power to ban Trump, just like Trump doesn't have the power to ban Muslims from the U.S., but Trump said again today he's absolutely serious about his vow to immediately suspend admitting Muslims to the U.S. The idea went over big with a crowd of supporters in South Carolina. Here's the video from the Trump rally, followed by reaction today from the White House spokesperson Josh Earnest.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on. We have no choice. We have no choice.
It's morally reprehensible. It runs counter to the Constitution, and it has consequences for our national security. But the real question for the Republican Party and for the Republican candidates is, are they going to be dragged into the dustbin of history along with Donald Trump?
The Trump controversy is causing reaction around the world to look how it could play out in the election for president. I'm joined by two guests. Jeff Simone is the executive director of the Massachusetts Young Republicans and co-host of the Lincoln Review podcast on the new BostonPost.com. And Kevin Frank is the former spokesperson for the Massachusetts Democratic Party. Welcome to you both. Finally, something Democrats and Republicans can agree on. Jeff, I'll start with you. What are we going to do here? What are you going to do? What are the Republicans going to do?
Well, as a Republican, I can say with the utmost confidence that nothing Donald Trump even stands for is Republican. This isn't only un-Republican, it's un-American.
So when there was a brouhaha a couple of weeks ago when someone in New Hampshire tried to get him off the ballot, Trump off the ballot, because he said he's not a Republican. He can't run as a Republican. Is that something we're going to revisit again?
Doubtful. I mean, he only registered as a Republican a few years ago.
Yeah.
So, I've been a lifetime Republican, and what you're seeing right now is that the people who are supporting him are basically anti-establishment more than anything, and it really doesn't matter what he says. I think his numbers are baked in. He's got a solid 25%. I don't see that going down that much, but maybe a little bit after today, but it might even go up a few points.
Kevin,
he's unchanged.
You kind of have to believe in the Constitution, at least maybe 90% of it if you want to be president. This is a major problem for a candidate running for president if they don't believe in the Constitution.
I guess so, and I can respect people like Jeff and the more sensible members of the other party who are distancing themselves from Trump. I wish everybody would. Ted Cruz notably declined to criticize Trump today. The real problem for national Republicans is that there's a huge number of people who support Donald Trump, who want to continue supporting Donald Trump. In a Suffolk University poll today, more than 2/3 of people who say they support Trump said they would continue to support him if he runs as an independent. Those voters have to go somewhere, and if Trump is not the Republican nominee, the challenge the eventual Republican nominee will have is keeping those people in the fold.
I'll let you get back to that in a second, Jeff, but the House Speaker, Paul Ryan, he left no doubt that Trump's views don't fit the Constitution or the Republican Party, to your point.
Freedom of religion is a fundamental constitutional principle. It's a founding principle of this country. I'm not concerned about lasting damage to the party. I'm concerned about standing up for our country's principles. These are first principles, and our party is dedicated to these first principles. And that's why I think it's incumbent upon leaders of our party like myself to stand up and defend what conservatism is and what the Republican Party stands for.
Isn't that what everybody should be saying in the Republican Party?
Yeah, the presidential candidates are in a bit of a pickle because the problem is they're getting sucked in like we are into this Trump vortex, and they want to be about their campaign and their candidacy, so they don't like talking about Trump. I think Ted Cruz distanced himself from Trump's statements, but he didn't come out as forcefully as Speaker Ryan did. That can be a problem on some level, but really presidential candidates want to talk about themselves, not Donald Trump, and that's why they're having to play this game.
Do you think he'll run as a third-party candidate, Trump?
I wouldn't put it past him. I honestly don't trust what he does.
What's going to happen to the race if that happens?
I think the Republican candidate most assuredly will lose if Donald Trump runs as a third-party candidate.
Yes.
As I said, he's got, you know, he's a CNN poll yesterday had him as high as 36% in Iowa. I think that's a little bit high, but if a third of Republicans, 25% of Republicans are constantly saying they're Trump supporters, and 2/3 of those say that they'll go with him to an independent bid, that's pretty tough math for Republicans to do around the country. I think the more important issue is that Donald Trump is speaking to where a lot of the Republican base is right now. So whether Trump runs as an independent or there's another Republican nominee who has to take the helm, there are a lot of people who want a candidate who says the kind of things that Trump says. And that's going to be a problem for the Republican candidate if it's not him, because they're going to have to figure out a way to appease that base of people who want someone to say Muslims shouldn't come, we should register Muslims.
I don't necessarily agree with that, because there is going to be the fight for the independents, and this could be a good opportunity for a lot of candidates who want to stay firm on conservative principles, and Trump's principles are anything but
God forbid there's
conservative.
an attack on American soil and Trump gets to say, see, I was right. I mean, it's...
But I doubt that you know, the idea of banning all people of a certain religion who are Muslim and equating that with a war on terror that needs to be fought properly, that this president isn't doing, those are two entirely different issues.
But the point is, Kevin, that people are terrified and people don't understand the difference between ISIL, ISIS, whatever else we're calling them, whether it's a religion. You know, it's like asking asking Christians to apologize for the Westboro Baptists who picket funerals of our armed forces. Isn't this a dangerous place for America to be?
I think it's very dangerous, and I think we're seeing the sort of dark side of American politics. It's an undercurrent that's always there, and we kind of dodge the bullet most often by having candidates who are too principled to engage in that kind of rhetoric. But the truth is that Republicans are responding to Donald Trump because they agree with them. I hate to be Mr. Poll Guy today, but I saw before I came here a PPP poll in North Carolina. That's where they're based. They're pretty good at that. State 48%, 2 points away from half of Republican voters in North Carolina support Trump's proposal to register Muslims, to create a government registry of Muslims. That's a huge number.
The
But he had a
PPP
cheering
just leans
crowd.
decidedly left on polling issues. I think, Kevin, you'd even agree with that.
So
public policy
what's the next step? What has to happen here, Jeff?
I think Republicans who just have to stand on principle, on conservative principles, constitutional principles, and just keep up the fight against this kind of idiocy, because that is what it is.
Kevin Frank, thanks so much for joining me. We'll follow you on Twitter. Get into it. We'll have a good time. Next.